my baby gorillas outside the Parliament with all the journalists, all my professional alternatives. Fantastic bunch that they all are. And we're here with, what's your name, sir?
David Henry.
David Henry. And David Henry is in the SNP, is that correct, sir?
I am indeed.
And what branch are you with, Mr.
I
Henry?
am the secretary of the Sighthill Stenhouse branch and the organiser for
In Edinburgh?
In Edinburgh.
Because it's quite confusing for the international audience. There's two Sighthills, there's one in Glasgow and one in Edinburgh. So it's, that's two separate locations, both of whom they've had to knock down because of socialist policies in the 70s, no?
I don't think they haven't knocked out Sighthill. Some people might want it.
Have they not? I thought they knocked down up at the roundabout. They knocked down all that and had to rebuild it all, didn't they?
Oh, the new housing, yeah.
So anyway, tell us about, what's this, sir? Just let's start off with what you...
Yes, so we've launched the manifesto for India, which is a carefully crafted document which one party's already adopted, and we're hoping to get many more adopting it in the next couple of weeks.
Can you just give a wee bit of detail on that, sir?
It basically means that May the 6th election would be an election that determines Scotland's future. We wouldn't need a referendum.
Oh, so you're for a unilateral declaration of independence?
No, it's not unilateral. It is simply a democratic process. You vote for the manifesto that you want, and if that's the majority view, and majority votes on the 7th, then that's the job done.
Aye, but that's basically a universal declaration of independence.
It isn't.
Well, what's the difference?
The difference is that a universal declaration doesn't necessarily come from the electorate. It comes from a group of people that happen to take over the running of a country. That's not what this is. This is a vote on the 6th of May, results on the 7th of May.
So is this a new party? Is this internal within the SNP?
Non-partisan. It's not non-party. It's.
But who's going to be running for it then?
Well, so far ISP, that's the Independence for Scotland Party, has adopted it. They adopted it a week ago. Other parties are looking at adopting it too.
Have you spoke to the Scottish Libertarian Party? Because they're obviously a nationalist party.
I haven't personally spoken to them.
Well, just for the greater sort of interaction.
It went out to everybody. All MSPs, all MPs, all local councillors, they all got a copy. It went to the EU president, it's gone to Irish politicians. It's a well thought through. Anyway, they can get the document from the website.
And what does it basically say? Can you give us a slight synopsis?
I can, I don't, it's down there.
Do you want to hold your sign back up?
No, it's alright. Well, if people go onto the website, manifestoforindy.com, they can read it and download the document now. But in a nutshell, a democratic vote on the 6th of May for a party that supported this and adopted this. You have voted for the Scottish Parliament to be the only sovereign parliament that represents the people of Scotland. So
you're against the EU? You're not?
I'm not against the EU.
No,
I think the EU is a great thing.
No, I mean you're against rejoining the EU.
No, I'm not.
No, but
I think the EU is a great thing.
No, that's not. Sorry, I'm not explaining it. But you just said not getting governed by anybody else. So does your manifesto say that you're not going to join the EU?
No, it in fact says, item number 2, that we'll reintroduce the EU continuity bill, which is already written, so that we can maybe open trade and stop this nonsense with Brexit, which is of course a disaster.
Nothing's really happened with Brexit, has it?
Oh, it certainly has.
What's happened?
It's damaged the market, it's damaged export, it's damaged Scottish fisheries, food production. Anybody that wants to sell anything to a consumer in the EU, you now have all these extra paperwork costs added on. So of course, UK business are damaged.
UK business is better than the democracy because 20 unelected commissioners dictating my legislation. I would prefer the businesses having paperwork than getting dictated to by 20 unelected commissioners who are themselves actually dictating what the actual...
They're not dictated. There are elections. We elect MEPs, members of the European Parliament, and all the countries pool a little bit of sovereignty and come up with some basic rules. I like the rules. Rules such as the Working Time Directive, you know, people's working rights, human rights, all these things came from the EU. Freedom of movement is a good thing.
Yeah, that's subjective, isn't it?
It's not subjective, it's a fact, it's a good thing. We've brought Brexit, it's a disaster.
Well, I don't agree. I think we've only had a month of it, and I think the fact that we have to spend more time developing what we've got now. We spent years developing the European Union. I would point to Southern Europe and seeing the level of youth unemployment in southern European countries under the EU. So I would suggest that that's an issue.
It's not the EU that does that, though, is it? It's the countries themselves. So why is it good for Germany, France, Holland, other countries, but okay, there's Spain and Greece. Greece had its problems.
Italy.
Got nothing to do with the EU. Greece had the problems before it joined the EU.
So we've got a few issues ourselves, like an overspending government just now, and not actually being able to raise the growth rate. I'd suggest that the concentration. I'm an entrepreneur, and I would suggest that the concentration should be on the development of small businesses in Scotland. That'll stimulate our economy.
And that'll never come while we're running from Westminster, will it?
And I don't think it'll come from Brussels.
No, I'll tell you what the difference between Brussels and London is. There's one very simple thing. London takes all of our tax, all of it. Brussels takes 1%. 1%.
But why don't we?
1% tax, and we get back about £3,000 worth of benefits per family.
But why don't we just have a free trade agreement with them?
Well, you've tried that. You've got your free trade agreement. Brexit has delivered a free trade agreement. It's not very free, is it?
Well,
no, it's not very free. There's tons of paperwork, loads of customs duties, and we're going to lose jobs. So you're talking about unemployment. Brexit was the perfect recipe for increasing unemployment.
I think
that's exactly what's happening.
But do you not think, well, none of us are unemployed just now unless it's me, because of obviously the COVID, because we're all stuck in our houses because of this COVID.
Yeah, well, when that ends, we'll find out what damage has really been done.
Well, aye, but is there not going to be the damage from the COVID? Because we've only had a month of Brexit just now. So there's obviously going to be a bedding in
what's
time.
The upside of Brexit?
I would say, for me, what I want is control. I'm a libertarian. I believe in the control from the individual, not the state. I don't believe in a top-down sort of society to any great extent. Reduce government, a limited government, and I certainly don't want to.
And yet you support the union?
No, I don't. I never didn't say that.
Brexit?
I support Brexit, yeah.
The Brexit party wasn't a Scottish party, it was an English party.
Yeah, I know, but
Nigel Farage.
I know, I agreed with Nigel on the issue. Sometimes you can agree. I agree with people who are all over the place on political issues. I'm not like tribal in my politics. Does that make sense? I will vote I'll agree with you on independence, but I won't agree with you in Brexit. So that I'm not. I don't have that sort of tribal mentality.
I don't think I'm very tribal. The EU is the best deal that we ever had, and we've given up a great deal that we had. And now we've got the cost of Brexit.
But let me.
Brexit is costing jobs. Costing jobs, costing businesses.
No, but what they could do is actually stimulate Scottish entrepreneurs to do jobs.
How could they do that? How could they do
Well, I'll give you an example. So I'm glad you said that.
I'll give you an example how they can't do it. Edinburgh in particular, and I've lived here most of my life, but I have also lived in London, so I've seen London. Edinburgh relies on the festival, it relies on tourism to a huge degree. If anything that's proved, thanks to COVID and shutting down the festival, is how that has damaged the city of Edinburgh. If you drive through it right now, everything is closed. Hotels closed, everything. Now, tourism. If you make it more difficult for people to come somewhere, which is what Brexit does, makes it more difficult, more expensive, you'll get less people coming. It works. I've travelled across Europe. I knew what Brexit was going to be a disaster. I knew because I've taken goods from London to Dover, Dover to Calais through France to the Geneva Motor Show. And I know that they have a border, and I know that they've got border duty and customs, and it costs money, and it takes loads of time, and you've got to have agents. Well, thanks very much, Brexiteers. That's what you've delivered to us. We're now the same as going across the border to Switzerland, and it doesn't benefit trade. It costs jobs. It adds costs to everybody, so everyone's poorer.
Yeah, but there's a few things to unwrap in there. That's a very good soundbite, but let me just start unwrapping it. So, the point about border, it should be, and as far as I'm aware, a zero tariff deal would mean that there wasn't any tariffs. That's as far as
but it's not the tariffs that's the problem. Mrs. Boris sold us all a lie.
Right.
So you got a tariff free, yes, but the problem is you've still got customs to deal with. So tax has to be collected. No longer. I used to deal with VAT. VAT used to be a UK company with a VAT number registers the European country and company they're dealing with the European VAT number, and you don't have to charge it because it's basically charged at the other end.
Yeah.
Right? It's an integrated system. That doesn't exist anymore now. So now, if you're a consumer in Europe, you want to buy something from a British company or a Scottish company, you don't get charged the VAT at this end, no, but you'll get charged the VAT as soon as it arrives in your country, and you have to pay your courier the fee, and the courier then charges you an administration fee. So something at 20, 30 euros or pounds now costs about 50. Guess what happens to your sales? They go down. People have complained. I had to laugh. English Brexiteers complaining on Radio 4 just after Christmas and New Year when it kicked in, because they had ordered all this bedding from a company, and it turned out it was a company in Germany.
Right, okay.
But it was in English, and it was all in pounds. So I didn't realise, of course it arrived after the 1st of January, £89 in fees to be paid before they'll give it to you.
Right.
And this woman was outraged. Well, that's the new world. That's what Brexit means.
But I understand that. So I'm not bothered about paying the more money to get democracy back. So that we now have the accountability, which is why everybody's here today, to actually then hold the politicians to account. I'm not going to fly off to Brussels to hold a commissioner to account who's not elected and is dictating our legislation.
But you're talking about the commissioners. What about the politicians?
The politicians only stand yes on. Hold on.
No, they debate things and they block things and they change pieces of legislation.
Let me answer your question. The commissioners are the ones that dictate the legislation. They propose the legislation. They are the only ones who can propose it.
And they can't pass any of it without the countries agreeing to it.
Yeah, but they're only saying yes or no in it, isn't it? Oh, no, they're only saying yes or no from the Parliament side. But
and it has to have approval from the Parliament. So
it's got
the European Commission doesn't do just what it likes.
It does.
No,
it does.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Right.
EU directives are created perhaps at that level, but they're not passed into law until there has been a vote in the European Parliament.
But
so it is democratic. I tell you what, it's a lot more democratic than the Westminster system with the House of Lords, where none of them are elected.
Well, I agree. We're both on the same page then, because I agree with you on that. So we're both on the same page with the reform of the House of Lords. So I don't think that's an issue there between us. So we both agree the House of Lords is undemocratic, it should change. So that's not really an issue between us. But however, what is an issue is that these are people who have got no accountability, we cannot get rid of them, and they are dictating the legislation, unelected and unrepresentative of 500 million people. I have a major problem with that. Obviously you think that's democracy. I personally don't.
Well, first of all, I know many EU directives, and they are far better than what came out of Westminster. Westminster was all about sovereignty. That was not true. It wasn't true, never true. We gave a little bit of sovereignty. You share a bit of sovereignty to come up with some basic rules and regulations. There's not a single rule or regulation that the EU ever came up with that I disagree with.
Not one?
No, I can't think of one. That wasn't even real.
I know, really joking. I just tested you there. I just tested you.
And there you go. And that's the problem, that Brexit was based on a tissue of lies by people that took the mick. But the problem is Brussels never spoke up. Because it doesn't. It doesn't fight back. Because it doesn't engage in other countries' politics.
But we're already seeing the movements of other European states that are wanting to leave now. It's not.
What one?
France.
Rubbish. France is the EU.
But there is now issues with France.
No. You mean the
and
National Front,
the Netherlands.
The National Front. Rubbish. No, they're not. It's stronger than ever. And people in Scotland, people should remember this across the UK, the people in Scotland voted 62% Remain. And that was ignored. Totally ignored.
Yep.
Is that democratic?
Well, yeah. Well, in the way that it worked out with the unionist vote, yes. Unfortunately, it is democratic the way that the unions. But is it democratic for Scots? No, probably not.
No, of course not. 62% of our population, our nation was ignored.
But however, that there has to be a way that as the UK, the votes are tallied not as an independent Scotland. If the Scots had voted for independence.
I'm sorry, do people not know the history of Scotland? Scotland has been a nation
since
1892.
I know. My name's Valentine, I obviously know that.
So you'll know that Scotland is a nation, Scotland is a country, it has been. And we joined the union, where we said we would merge and share our sovereignty for the Parliament. But what's that building there? That's our Parliament.
Not very nice, attractive one, mind you, but
Right, that's your opinion.
that is definitely my opinion.
At least that one isn't falling down like the House of Commons, which is falling to pieces. So, and they want to spend billions rebuilding it.
Yeah,
and
that's
they
right.
expect us to pay for it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's very democratic.
Yeah.
You won't win on this argument with me. I know the facts.
Uh-huh.
The majority of people in Scotland want Scotland to be running its own affairs.
But you're not running your own affairs if the EU's running
Correct. No, you are.
it.
1% of your tax will be the EU. 1%. You get back another foreign values you paid. Or stay in the UK, you pay all your tax to them and they give you some of it back.
But why don't, there's another option there.
What's that?
The other option is that we become an independent nation outside the EU and become like Hong Kong or Switzerland and use that as a model, economic model.
You've been to Switzerland. It's very expensive.
Well, I mean, but there's also it pays more, so that's like Norway's very expensive, and we know they've also got tons of money as well. That's why it's expensive, and they're expensive because they're very high up.
Switzerland's not like that.
Well, Singapore then. There you go.
Oh God, no. A tax haven.
Yeah. So what's wrong with that?
Because there's no social security there. There's no real freedom. Do you know Singapore? 80% of all properties owned by the government. You want to have Switzerland?
Bit communist.
You want to? Well, the 80%, and that is what Brexiteers claimed they wanted to model the UK on. It was going to be Singapore on the Thames. Probably heard them say it. Well, how are you going to do that? You're going to force everyone to sell their house to the state, are you? It's nonsense. Total nonsense.
I think they were talking more from the economic point of view.
Yes, except if you're on the losing side of the economic point of view. There's a lot of people that aren't actually wealthy. There are others that are extremely wealthy.
But you could surely...
And it's low taxation, so people like it because it's low tax. It's a tax haven.
But you could surely, even through the limited tax, redistribute it to the poorest. That would be the most sensible.
That sounds like a utopia, doesn't it? You really think that's going to happen?
Well, yeah, you need a political party that actually states it, yes.
And then do your own campaign and get people to
that's coming. Listen, thanks very much. You've been great.
Welcome.
Some very good points there, I have to say, from
You're welcome.
from a Brexit, from a Remainer.